Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight, Headnotes suing a co-founder over funds raised after Hurricane Dorian. The Prime Minister on the defense over the increase in travel benefits for cabinet ministers. Plus, OBAN still in limbo 2 years later.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Co-founder of Headnotes Foundation, Leah Head, responding to allegations leveled against her in a lawsuit filed by her former partner, Gina Knowles. Head, who lives in Florida, categorically denied the claims that she helped herself to donated funds and said she's both disappointed and disheartened by legal action taken against her. At the center of the dispute is $400,000 in donated funds. However, Head told Our News her hands are clean. Vonnie Toot reports.
We woke up Friday morning and said, I don't see anything on Facebook about relief. And I texted Gina. I said, Gina, let's go. I'm going to start up a fund.
They call, what do you need?
And pilots just all wrapped and ready to go.
It's more than this of gardens. You know, we say we need
Dog
food and cat food. They dropped off a truck. George dropped off a truck of shoes. And
Lorraine's dropped off a whole truck of clothes.
Back on October 15th, 2015, proud partners Leah Head and Gina Knowles stood together in this packed Furniture Plus warehouse to assist those affected by Hurricane Joaquin. It was the start of Headnotes Foundation, a charity dedicated to helping those in need. However, 4 years later, their partnership has gone from this warehouse to a courthouse. Knowles is now suing Rigby. The lawsuit filed in Orange County, Florida, claims that Rigby helped herself to funds raised from a GoFundMe page set up to assist Hurricane Dorian victims. It alleges that Head Rigby commenced the lifestyle of the rich and famous with the donated funds and paid herself a $120,000 per year salary.
When you see what these people have gone through, all that aside, I'm worrying about the people who have been affected. They don't have a house. We cannot be doing this trivial garbage.
According to the lawsuit, the foundation's GoFundMe page raised approximately $1.5 million before the campaign was closed. It alleges that on September 9, 2019, Head Rigby transferred over $737,000 from her personal bank account to the plaintiff, then transferred another $270,000 on September 16, 2019.
There's no other way to resolve it at this point. I mean, it's tragic.
The suit alleges that Head started to make inappropriate withdrawals after she wire transferred GoFundMe campaign funds to the Bahamian bank account which she had access to using a debit card. The suit reads, given that Head had next to no money in her personal bank account prior to the GoFundMe campaign, she started to make inappropriate withdrawals from bank account number 3 in order to avoid detection from GoFundMe or U.S. bank authorities. It continues, the plaintiff's treasurer detected that Head made two $1,000 withdrawals from bank account number 3, which she had access to. Our News reached out to Leah Head, who says she is blown away by her former partner's comments. She categorically denied claims made in the lawsuit and insisted she has the receipts to back it up.
These accusations from Gina Knowles and her team are so disappointing, so disheartening, and so false. Categorically untrue. Totally wrong. And wonderfully to say, I have every receipt. I have everything accounted for. The monies that were spent over here, the lion's share was for all the planes that we sent down full of supplies to Grand Bahama and to the Abacos. And we spent a lot of money on that.
Rigby insisted her hands are clean and explained how those donated funds were spent.
We spent almost $200,000 just on shipping and getting all those wonderful things out there. So that Herculean efforts mentioned was a lot on the American side over here. And as the American citizen, raising the U.S. dollars on the U.S. platforms and then having to report for the U.S. laws and the U.S. IRS, of course, I was not willing to compromise my position, nor was I willing to allow someone from out of the country to misappropriate those funds.
Rigby added that she has been cleared by 2 Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services investigations.
There are a lot of things that are under the surface that I don't understand what's going on really, but I do know that I have my I's dotted, my T's crossed, and I have the State Department, the people who say you're compliant or not. They've already made sure it's done. And so when this comes to a head, I guess all will be made clear, and my hands are clean.
Head says she is still helping persons on the ground every day. As for Knowles, she says Headnotes Foundation will continue its mission of helping Hurricane Dorian victims. Reporting for Our News, I'm Vonnie Tu.
In other news, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis defending Cabinet's decision to increase the travel benefits offered to Cabinet ministers and their spouses. Jared Higgs has more.
You worried about $100? Next question.
Minnis made the defensive comments as he spoke to reporters on his return from a CARICOM meeting in Barbados. He was adamant that Cabinet's decision to increase the travel budget of Cabinet ministers was fair, pointing out instances where he says he himself had to pay for things out of pocket while traveling on government business.
What you don't know is on many occasions, Cabinet ministers, including myself, travel with insufficient funds and use my own credit card to pay government's bills. That happens regularly. So we always have to travel with our own cash.
The new travel policy for ministers provides for $100 per day per diem for spouses and an increase in ministerial per diem for domestic travel from $80 to $100 per day and from $150 to $250 for international travel. Additionally, ministers are to be afforded membership to the American Airlines Admirals Club, business class tickets for all trips less than 10 hours in duration, and first class tickets for all trips over 10 hours. Then there's the special prepaid debit card which will be issued to ministers to use on all official trips.
We always have to travel with our own cash and our own credit card. In fact, I was placed in an embarrassing situation as Prime Minister of the country when I traveled to Brussels only to discover that they did not accept cash. They did not accept swipe card. You needed a chip. I had to borrow a card from someone else to pay a bill. And we had an ambassador caught in the same situation, could not pay bill, and I was almost pressured. I was to a point where the ambassador was in a compromised position. I was about to call Jamaica for assistance to pay our bill.
Minnis's comments come weeks after it was revealed that government's travel budget increased by $4 million. The move is a complete about-face by Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis, who, while in opposition, accused the former Christie administration of overspending on travel. In January, Deputy Prime Minister Peter Turnquest told On the Record's Jerome Sawyer that while the increases have been agreed, they haven't been implemented.
I haven't gotten any increase in my travel per diem. I don't have any Admirals Club membership. I think you will find in most ministries, and I can't say for all because I haven't looked at each and every one of them, you will find in most that those agreed increases have not been implemented.
Now, that travel budget increase also included allocations for ministers' spouses. That included an increase in per diem as well as allocations for an additional trip per year. But Minnis says he doesn't know about any spouse who took that extra trip.
If you check, even though that was done a year ago, you've checked the records, you'll find that I don't think one cabinet minister's spouse had taken advantage of that. And you'd find in most instances, cabinet ministers travel by themselves.
Critics question the timing of the travel budget increase when many Bahamians are struggling to cope with the country's notoriously high cost of living. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
A 29-year-old Haitian man was sentenced to 1 year in prison and fined $500 after being arraigned in the magistrate's court on 4 fraud-related charges. James Lee Fields Amy, also known as Johnny Tannis, seen in the burgundy shirt, appeared before Magistrate Carolyn Vogt Evans. Amy was charged with attempted fraud by false pretenses. It is alleged that sometime between September 9, 2019 and January 28, 2020, he attempted to obtain Bahamian citizenship. It is further alleged that he uttered a false document, namely a Haitian passport, knowing it not to be genuine. Amy entered a guilty plea to all charges and said when he arrived in the Bahamas in January, he was persuaded by his aunt to use the name Johnny Tannis to apply for Bahamian citizenship. He admitted that he knows what he did was wrong. Magistrate Vogt Evans said the Bahamas must protect its country. The greatest gift a Bahamian can have is citizenship, and you dare to steal that, and for that you must be punished. Amy will be deported upon completion of his prison sentence. Well, roughly 50 acres of shantytown land had been cleared on Abaco after the island was devastated by Hurricane Dorian. However, Works Minister Desmond Bannister says there is still a lot more work to be done as the administration seeks to get rid of the illegal communities. Jasmine Brown reports.
The Works Minister gave an update on the shantytown clearing process as he made his contribution to the budget debate in the House of Assembly on Wednesday.
This is what it looks. This is what the mud looks like now. It's not MUDD anymore, it's MUD. It's only mud there now. Speaker, between the mud and the P, I believe we have some over 50 acres of land that's been cleared. That's going to be a wonderful heritage for the people of the Bahamas to put something there special.
Last week, Bannister said Bahamians' complacency created the shantytown problem that exists in the Bahamas. He also said only an event like Hurricane Dorian could have allowed the government to do what is necessary to clean up the Abaco shantytowns. Dorian tore through Abaco and Grand Bahama nearly 6 months ago, leaving at least 70 people dead. The Mud and Pigeon Peas shantytowns suffered severe wind and flood damage. Early in its term, the administration announced plans to demolish shantytowns in the Bahamas. In August 2018, Supreme Court Justice Cheryl Grant Thompson handed down an injunction blocking the demolition of shantytown structures. The government is seeking to have the injunction lifted. Bannister says they are patiently awaiting the court's decision.
This was arduous work. But now those areas have been cleared and fenced. This government will not permit the redevelopment of, let me say this slowly, this government will not permit the redevelopment of shantytowns in those locations. And indeed, the health and other challenges associated with those shantytowns mandate that we have no tolerance whatsoever for their existence.
After Dorian, the government issued an immediate 6-month ban on the construction of new buildings in Abaco shantytowns. Bannister also commended the work done by companies contracted for the cleanup efforts, but he added that the situation they deal with on a daily basis is less than ideal.
This was what the mud looked like after Dorian. This is what a group of young Bahamian, a Bahamian company, young Bahamians had to face.
You guys see in the back view.
That's what it looked like, Speaker. This company, Caribbean Paving Solutions, it's a group of young Bahamians.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
2 years after a heads of agreement signing with Florida-based Oban Energies for a $5.5 billion oil refinery and storage facility on Grand Bahama, no movement has been made on the controversial project. Now, environmentalists have begun asking, what's the holdup?
Far along with our environmental study. We hope to have it wrapped up in the next 45 days.
But 2 years after it was dubbed just a ceremonial signing, the Oban Energies deal remains a stack of papers before a cabinet subcommittee with no clear timeline on when anything will get started. The project has been embroiled in confusion and controversy since then. In fact, Peter Krieger, the then non-executive chairman, speaking and signing on behalf of Oban Energies, did so in place of the company's president, Satpal Duna, who dodged questions from reporters just a month after it was revealed his signature was forged on the document signed in the Prime Minister's office. Hi, Mr. Duna. Just one quick question. We just want to know who's going to fund this project, Mr. Duna. Since then, Oban Energies has gotten a new president and managing director, Alexander Grokidis, who told Our News there is no update on how negotiations are coming along presently. And now, environmentalists have begun to question the status on the project. Debbie Deal is one who, from day one, has questioned the impact the project will have on the environment.
We need to make sure that any decision that we make with Oban, with the drilling, with anything to do with fossil fuels, even bringing fossil fuels into the country is always a risk. We need to, I think, always think of our greater good and of our marine life, our wildlife, our fishing industry, the human factor, and our tourism industry.
It has still not been revealed what impact the project would have on Grand Bahama's environment, including marine life, which Steele says is most important.
You never know what could possibly happen when when businesses like this come to our country and do things, right? We've seen what have happened. We've seen what's happened in the Arctic. We've seen what's happened in Mexico, in the Gulf of Mexico. We've seen what happens. We don't even have the financial wherewithal to be able to deal with a crisis like that, let alone the effect that it would have on our marine life, our wildlife, and our human health.
Still to come on Our News, a man charged with a recent murder. Plus, will immigration officers be posted in Andros shantytowns? Find out after the break.
You can get everything and more. Get 150% download speed increase than if you got internet alone. An enhanced television experience and 15 phone features, all for, wait, it's still $99? But we boosted the internet speed. I'm just asking. Okay, fine. Just call 601-2200 and tell them that you want Trio, TV, phone, internet for $99. Powered by Rev. You and us together.
You're watching Our News. Welcome back. A 38-year-old Haitian man was charged with murder in the magistrate's court this afternoon. Giorgio Bain has the story.
Officers of the Central Detective Unit brought 38-year-old John Joseph, seen in the Bob Marley jacket of Ross Corner, to answer to one charge of murder before Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt. According to police reports, shortly after 2 a.m., the body of an adult male was discovered on Ross Corner off East Street with apparent stab wounds. Paramedics were called to the scene and attempted to revive the victim. However, he was pronounced dead. Officers were able to take a man into custody a short time after the killing. The victim was later identified as Roderick Taylor. Joseph was not represented by an attorney. He was denied bail and returned to court on April 28th for the presentation of a voluntary bill of indictment. He was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections. Reporting for Our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Immigration officers may be posted in shanty towns on Andros, according to Immigration Minister Ellsworth Johnson, who said their intelligence has revealed that some people on that island entered the Bahamas illegally and are being assisted by Bahamians. Berthany McDermott explains.
Amid an increase of migrants on Andros, Immigration Minister Ellsworth Johnson said it may be necessary for the immigration officers to pitch their own tents in the shantytown on that island. However, Johnson said there may be a much larger problem than illegal migration.
Our intelligence has revealed that there are some persons in Andros who may not have come to the Bahamas by way of the right procedure. We are conducting ongoing investigations into it. Intelligence revealed that some of them are being assisted by Bahamians.
However, he stressed that the situation calls for sensitivity.
But to the extent that the majority of them are economic migrants, we fully appreciate that we must go into protection mode because there are women and children. But there's still the requirement that persons are to migrate to the Bahamas in the proper way.
A task force consisting of officers from the Immigration Department, the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and Royal Bahamas Defense Force recently conducted a major operation on Andros. However, Johnson said the department may take it a step further, as he suggested that migrants are being exploited.
I think it may become necessary to send officers into the community sometimes to actually live in the community. We know that the Department of Agriculture has posted eviction notices. We saw those. Persons went into the bushes, but it may be necessary for us to pitch our own tent in some of these areas to deal with it.
Back in September, North Andros descendants wrote government expressing concerns about the alleged relocation of Haitians from Abaco to Andros post-Dorian. At the time, area MP Carlton Boleg denied that there had been a significant increase in shantytown residents. However, he said the shantytown would be dealt with shortly. While when asked about this latest issue, Boleg said this.
We've had allegations, and based on the allegations, an investigation was done through the Ministry of Immigration, in which the minister, I think, has enlightened a lot on what's going on. It's a continued process that we're going to be looking into, and we're going to do what we can to make sure that we bring some kind of relief to the people down there.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Our thanks, BJ. Still to come, Gama to honor insurance industry leaders. Stay tuned.
You can get everything and more. Get 150% download speed increase than if you got internet alone. An enhanced television experience and 15 phone features, all for, wait, it's still $99? But we boosted the internet speed. I'm just asking. Okay, fine. Just call 601-2200 and tell them that you want Trio TV, phone, internet for $99. Powered by Rev. You and us together.
Insurance industry leaders to be honored next week as Gama International establishes its first Caribbean chapter here in the Bahamas. The General Agents and Managers Association, which is dedicated to the development of leadership skills for those in the insurance and financial services industries, is set to have a series of events from February 26th to 28th. They include an educational seminar for industry professionals and an awards recognition banquet.
The importance of this seminar is that not only are we preparing our leaders and managers and agents to be the best that they can be, but also you, the consumer. We want to ensure that we educate our consumers to ensure that they get the proper training and development and also advice.
We want to make our agents true professionals, and through this association, we'll have the continuing education to make sure that they are on the cutting edge to provide the best service out there to the Bahamian public.
The annual Gama Conference draws more than 3,000 field leaders and industry executives representing more than 50 insurance and investment companies from around the world. Honorees for this year's banquet include Chester Cooper of BAF Financial and Emmanuel Alexio and Anthony Ferguson of Colina Insurance.
We see on the international level, we are reproducing here at our local level, and we expect that we will join companies like Mexico, countries like Mexico and Ireland and Greece with their international chapters in becoming a real force to reckon with.
Ticket sales are for education sessions. It's also at Bahama. The ticket sales are $100, and for the awards dinner, the ticket sales are also at $100.